The chamber is open and full of whispers.
The Burrow stands crooked and warm against the cold autumn night. Inside, Molly Weasley sits at the kitchen table, face buried in her hands, shoulders shaking with sobs. Her eyes are red and swollen. She's been crying for hours. Arthur Weasley stands behind her, one hand on her shoulder. His face is pale, drawn. He looks like he's aged 10 years in a single day. Lily, Molly whispers, James. Both of them gone. And that poor baby, that poor little boy. What will happen to him? Arthur doesn't answer. He doesn't know. A knock at the door. Arthur freezes. It's past midnight. No one visits the Burrow this late unless... Who's there? It's Albus, Arthur. I need to speak with you and Molly. It's urgent. Arthur opens the door. Albus Dumbledore stands on the doorstep in traveling robes, his face grave. In his arms, wrapped in a soft blanket, is a sleeping toddler with a lightning bolt scar on his forehead. Molly gasps. She's on her feet immediately, moving toward them. Is that Harry Potter? Dumbledore confirms quietly. May I come in? Arthur steps aside. Dumbledore enters, and the door closes behind him with a soft click. Molly is staring at the child in Dumbledore's arms. The baby is perhaps 15 months old, fast asleep, one tiny hand clutching the edge of the blanket. The scar on his forehead is still fresh, angry red against pale skin. Albus, Molly whispers. What are you doing with him? Where is he supposed to go? Dumbledore looks at her with ancient, tired eyes. That is why I'm here, Molly. I need your help. He moves to the kitchen table, still holding Harry carefully. Arthur and Molly sit across from him, both tense, waiting. The child cannot stay with me. Dumbledore begins. I am headmaster of Hogwarts, but I am not a parent. I am a soldier in a war that may not be finished. Harry needs a home, a family, love. Petunia, Molly says immediately. Lily's sister, blood family. That's the proper... She hated her sister for being a witch. She will resent this child for the same reason. I could place him there and invoke the blood protection. Lily's sacrifice created powerful magic tied to her bloodline, but he would grow up unloved, unwanted, possibly abused. Molly's face hardens. Then you cannot place him there. No, I cannot, which is why I've come to you. Silence. Arthur and Molly exchange glances. Albus, Arthur says carefully. We have 7 children. Bill just started Hogwarts this year. Charlie is 9. Percy is 5. The twins are 3. Ron is barely a year old. Ginny was born 3 months ago. We can barely afford, Dumbledore says. The ministry can arrange a guardian stipend for war orphans, and I can assist with other arrangements as needed. Financially, you will manage. That's not... Molly starts, then stops. Takes a breath. Arthur, what do you think? Arthur looks at the sleeping child in Dumbledore's arms, at the scar that marks him as the only person to ever survive the killing curse, at the peaceful, innocent face that has no idea his parents are dead, that he's already famous, that the entire wizarding world will know his name. He needs a home, Arthur says quietly. We have one. Molly's eyes fill with tears again, but these are different tears. She stands, moves around the table, and takes Harry from Dumbledore's arms. The child stirs slightly but doesn't wake, settling against her shoulder with a small sigh. Then he's ours, Molly says, her voice fierce despite the tears. All of ours. To extend Lily's protection to this house, to you, it will not be as strong as the blood ward would have been with Petunia. That magic required blood relation. But there is another way. Oath magic. Ancient intent. Dumbledore stands, pulls his wand. Molly, you lost your brothers Fabian and Gideon to this war. They died fighting Voldemort, protecting the wizarding world. Lily Potter died protecting her son. Both are sacrifices born of love. Both create resonance in the old magic. He gestures to the kitchen floor. Stand here, Molly. Hold Harry. I will weave the protection, but you must swear the oath that binds it. Molly moves to the center of the kitchen, still holding Harry. Arthur stands beside her, wand drawn but lowered. Dumbledore begins to cast. His wand movements are slow, deliberate, tracing patterns in the air that glow golden. The light spreads, forming a circle around Molly and Harry, then expanding outward to the walls of the Burrow itself. Molly Weasley, Dumbledore says, his voice resonant with power, do you swear by your magic and your blood to raise Harry James Potter as your son? I swear, Molly says clearly. Do you swear to protect him as you protect your children, to shield him from harm, to give him the love and home he deserves? I swear. Do you swear to keep him safe, to raise him with kindness, to teach him right from wrong, to be his mother in all ways that matter? Molly looks down at Harry, sleeping peacefully in her arms. A tear slides down her cheek. I swear, she whispers, I will raise him as my son, protect him as I protect my children, love him as I love my blood. The golden light flares bright, then sinks into the walls, the floor, the very foundation of the burrow. For a moment, the entire house glows with warm light. Then it fades, but something remains, a feeling of safety, of sanctuary, of home. It is done, Dumbledore says quietly. The burrow is now a protected place for Harry Potter. As long as he considers this home, as long as your love for him remains true, he is shielded from Voldemort's direct magical tracking. It is not the absolute protection Lily's blood would have provided through Petunia. That was anchored in unwilling duty. This is anchored in willing love. That makes it vulnerable to emotional manipulation, but it also makes it powerful in ways the other could never be. He'll be safe here, Arthur asks, as safe as anywhere in this world, and far happier than he would have been anywhere else. One more thing. The world believes Harry Potter survived through luck, through Lily's sacrifice, and nothing more. They do not need to know he lives here. For now, for as long as possible, let him be just another Weasley child. Let him have a childhood before the fame finds him. We will, Molly promises. Dumbledore nods once, then disappears with a soft pop of apparition. The kitchen is silent. Molly and Arthur stand together, Molly still holding Harry. The child is starting to wake now, eyes blinking open. Green eyes, impossibly green, Lily's eyes. Mama? Harry mumbles, confused, looking around. Molly's breath catches, but she doesn't correct him. Shh, sweetheart, she says softly. You're safe, you're home. Harry's eyes close again. He settles back into sleep. Arthur puts his arm around Molly's shoulders. We'll make this work. I know we will. He deserves a family. We'll give him one. Where should we put him tonight? Molly thinks. Ron's crib. They're the same age, born just weeks apart. Let them share. They move upstairs quietly, careful not to wake the other children. Ron's small room is at the end of the hall. Not really a room, more a converted closet that Molly charmed to be larger on the inside. Ron is asleep in his crib, small and red-haired and peaceful. Molly gently lowers Harry into the crib beside him. For a moment, nothing happens. Then Ron's eyes open. He sees Harry, blinks, and reaches out one tiny hand. Harry, half asleep, grabs it. Their small fingers intertwine. Ron smiles and closes his eyes. Within seconds, both babies are asleep, holding hands. Molly watches them, tears streaming down her face again. But she's smiling. Twins, she whispers. The burrow wakes to chaos, as always. Bill is the first up, 11 years old and responsible. He comes downstairs expecting breakfast and finds his mother making far more food than usual, her eyes red but determined. Mum, are you all right? I'm fine, dear. There's something I need to tell you. All of you. Go wake your brothers and sister. Bill hesitates, then nods and heads back upstairs. Within 10 minutes, the entire family is gathered in the kitchen. Bill looks alert and curious. Charlie, at 9, is half awake and yawning. Percy, 5 years old, is trying to straighten his pajamas and look presentable. Fred and George, barely 3, are poking each other and giggling. Ginny is in a basket on the table, 3 months old and gurgling happily. And Ron is in Molly's arms, along with another toddler the older children don't recognize. Children, Molly says, her voice steady, I have something important to tell you. Last night, Professor Dumbledore brought us someone who needs a home. This is Harry. He's going to live with us from now on. He's part of our family. Mum, is that Harry Potter? Charlie sits up straight, suddenly fully awake. The Harry Potter from the attack? Percy gasps. The boy who lived. Molly's voice hardens. He's Harry. Just Harry. Not the boy who lived, or any other title. He's a little boy who lost his parents, and we're going to give him a home and a family. Is that understood? Then, more gently, Can I tell my friends at Hogwarts that he's here? Harry gets to be a normal child for as long as possible. No one outside this family needs to know where he is or who's raising him. He's our secret, our responsibility, our son and brother. Bill nods, though he looks disappointed. Charlie leans forward. Does he like Quidditch? He's 15 months old, Charlie. He doesn't know what Quidditch is yet. I can teach him. Percy raises his hand like he's in class. Mom, should we call him Harry or the boy who lived? He's just come down, dressed for work, though it's Sunday. Just Harry. He's a Weasley now, in everything but name. Fred and George slide off their chairs and toddle over to Molly. They reach up, trying to touch Harry's scar. No touching, Molly says, gently batting their hands away. That's not polite, but it's... Fred starts, special, George finishes. It's a scar from a terrible night when he lost his parents. It's not a toy. Leave it alone. The twins retreat, chastised. Ron, still in Molly's arms next to Harry, reaches out and pats Harry's face. Harry giggles and pats back. They like each other, Charlie observes. They're going to be raised together, Molly says. Same age, same year at Hogwarts eventually, like twins. We're twins, Fred protests. Harry can't be Ron's twin, George adds. You're twins, Molly agrees. Harry and Ron will be like twins. There's a difference. Mum, Dad, if Harry's going to live here, if he's really going to be one of us, we need to protect him. Not just from dark wizards, from people who'll treat him like he's special instead of normal. That's very mature, Bill, Arthur says approvingly. I mean it. At Hogwarts, people are already talking about him, about the attack, about you-know-who. When he gets old enough to understand, when people recognize him, it's going to be hard. Then we make sure he knows he's loved first, Molly says. We make sure he knows he belongs here, so that when the rest of the world comes calling, he has a foundation to stand on. The family falls quiet, absorbing this. Then Harry makes a sound, not quite a word, but close. One, he says, patting Ron's face. Ron giggles and pats back. Ha-ee. Arthur moves to her side, puts his arm around her shoulders. It's going to be all right, he says quietly. We'll make it work, all of us together. I know, Molly whispers. I know we will. Where one goes, the other follows. Molly has stopped trying to separate them. They cry when apart, calm when together. The older boys have adapted in their own ways. Bill, when home from Hogwarts for Christmas, appoints himself Harry's big brother protector. He reads to both Harry and Ron every night, teaching them words through picture books. Charlie builds a small playbroom, just a stick with twigs tied to one end, and lets Harry and Ron pretend to fly around the kitchen. Percy tries to teach them proper behavior at the dinner table, which is adorable but ineffective given they're both barely talking. Fred and George have declared Harry and Ron their test subjects for pranks. So far, this has resulted in charmed socks that tickle when worn, a toy dragon that breeds actual harmless sparks, purple mashed potatoes at dinner. Molly was not amused. Ginny, still an infant, mostly sleeps through the chaos. Arthur has received his first promotion at the ministry, a small raise that comes with a vague title adjustment. He suspects Dumbledore's hand in it but can't prove anything. The extra money helps, though they're still stretching every galleon. The War Orphan Guardian stipend Dumbledore mentioned arrived in November, a modest monthly amount that covers basic necessities. Arthur hates accepting it, feels like charity, but Molly points out it's compensation for raising a child who's not biologically theirs. It's not charity, Arthur. It's payment for a service. We're giving Harry a home. The ministry is helping us afford to do that. Arthur grumbles but accepts. Today is a quiet afternoon. Most of the children are napping or playing upstairs. Molly is in the kitchen preparing dinner. Harry and Ron are in the living room with a pile of wooden blocks. Molly hears a word. Clear. Distinct. One. She turns. Harry is pointing at Ron, grinning, repeating the word. One. One. Ron claps his hands and points back. How-wee. Molly's eyes fill with tears. Happy tears this time. Harry's first word was Ron's name, or his attempt at it anyway. She moves to the living room doorway, watches them play. They're stacking blocks together, knocking them down, giggling. What's happening? Arthur asks, appearing behind her. Harry's first word. Molly says softly, What did he say? He was trying to say Ron. Arthur watches the two toddlers for a moment, then smiles. Of course he did. They're inseparable. Do you think we did the right thing? Molly asks quietly. Taking him in? I love him already, Arthur. But what if we can't protect him? What if Voldemort comes back? What if... Whatever comes later, he'll face it knowing he's not alone. That's worth everything. Molly leans into him. I know, but I'm still scared. So am I, but we'll manage. We always do. From the living room, a crash. Harry and Ron have knocked over a much larger pile of blocks than they built. Both boys look at the mess, look at each other, and start laughing hysterically. Molly can't help but smile. Molly puts Harry and Ron to bed together as usual. She's reading them a story, something about a wizard who befriended a dragon, though they're too young to really understand. But they like the sound of her voice, the rhythm of the words. Halfway through, Harry's eyes drift closed. A moment later, so do Ron's. Molly sets the book aside, watches them sleep. Ron's hand is wrapped around Harry's. Harry's head is resting against Ron's shoulder. Twins, Molly whispers again. She stands, smooths the blanket over them, and whispers a blessing she's whispered over all her children. May you be brave, may you be kind, may you be loved, may you be safe. Then she adds, specifically for Harry, Lily would want you happy. I'll make sure you're happy. She leaves the room quietly, pulling the door almost closed. Arthur is waiting in the hallway. They're asleep, finally, holding hands again. Arthur shakes his head, smiling. They're going to be trouble when they're older. All our children are trouble. True, but those two together, double trouble. Molly laughs softly. I wouldn't have it any other way. They head downstairs, leaving the door cracked open so they can hear if either boy wakes. In the small room at the end of the hall, Harry Potter and Ron Weasley sleep peacefully, hands intertwined, breathing in sync. Brothers in all the ways that matter. The orchard behind the Burrow is full of apple trees and wildflowers. Charlie Weasley, 15 years old and home from Hogwarts for the summer, is the undisputed Quidditch expert of the family. He was seeker for Gryffindor last year, and everyone says he could play professionally if he wanted. Today, he's building training brooms for Harry and Ron. Hold still, he mutters, tying twigs to a pair of small broomsticks with practiced efficiency. These aren't real flying brooms. They're modified toy brooms, charmed to hover about 10 feet off the ground maximum. Safe for 6-year-olds learning the basics. Harry and Ron watch with barely contained excitement, bouncing on their heels. Can we fly now? Ron asks. Almost. Just need to. There. Charlie hands them each a broom. All right. Listen carefully. Flying isn't about strength. It's about balance and intent. You tell the broom where you want to go, and if you're balanced, it listens. How do we tell it? Harry asks. With your mind. And your body. Lean forward to go forward. Lean back to slow down. Shift your weight to turn. Simple. Sounds easy, Ron says confidently. Charlie grins. Let's see if you're right. Mount up. Both boys throw their legs over the brooms. They lift off immediately. Wobbly, unsteady, but airborne. Ron yelps and leans too far forward. The broom shoots ahead and he crashes into an apple tree, landing in the soft grass with a thud. Ron, Harry shouts, trying to turn his broom. He overcompensates, spins in a circle, and ends up facing backward. Charlie is laughing, but he jogs over to help Ron up. You all right? Ron is grinning despite the grass in his hair. That was brilliant. Can I try again? In a minute. Harry, straighten out and come down slowly. Lean back just a little. Harry does. The broom responds smoothly, lowering him gently to the ground. You're a natural, Charlie observes. Harry, you fly like a seeker. Light touch, good instincts. Harry beams. Ron, you fly like a keeper. Ron's face falls. What does that mean? Means you stop things. You're solid grounded. You'd be good at blocking goals. That sounds boring. Keepers save games. They're just as important as seekers, maybe more. A good keeper is worth their weight in gold. Ron considers this, then grins. All right, I can be a keeper. As long as Harry and I can play together, that's the plan. Now get back on that broom. We're practicing until sunset. They practice for hours. Harry gets better and better, zooming around the orchard with natural grace. Ron crashes 3 more times but gets steadier with each attempt. By sunset, both boys can hover, turn, and land without help. Charlie watches them with pride. Tomorrow, we race. Really? Harry's eyes light up. Really? Around the orchard, winner gets an extra dessert. Ron and Harry exchange competitive grins. They race the next day, and the day after, and every day that summer, Harry wins most of them, but Ron doesn't mind. They're flying together, that's what matters. Diagon Alley is crowded today. Molly is shopping for school supplies for Bill and Charlie, holding Ginny's hand while the older boys browse. Percy is reading a book in flourish and blots. Fred and George are suspiciously quiet near the Quidditch shop. Harry and Ron are supposed to be staying close to Molly. but they've wandered a few steps away, looking at the display window of Gamble and Jape's Wizarding Joke Shop. A stranger notices Harry, middle-aged wizard, expensive robes, excited expression. "Excuse me," the man says, approaching Harry. You're Harry Potter, aren't you?" Harry tenses. He knows his name is famous, knows people might recognize him, but it hasn't happened much because the Weasleys keep him home or in small crowds. Harry says. "I knew it. The scar." The man is practically vibrating with excitement. May I touch it? For luck? I've always wanted to meet you." He reaches toward Harry's forehead. Harry flinches back, scared. Then a hand grabs the stranger's wrist. Bill Weasley, 16 years old and already tall, holds the man's arm in a firm grip. His expression is cold. "He's a kid," Bill says quietly. "Not a trophy. He's 7 years old. Leave him alone." The stranger yanks his hand back, looking offended. "I meant no harm. He's famous. The boy who lived. People have a right to." "People have a right to nothing," Bill interrupts. "He's a child. Respect that." The stranger huffs, mutters something about no gratitude, and stalks away. Harry is shaking. Ron is holding his hand, glaring at where the stranger disappeared. Bill kneels down to Harry's level. "You okay?" "He wanted to touch my scar," Harry whispers. "I know. Some people are idiots. You don't have to let anyone touch you if you don't want to. Ever. Understand?" Harry nods. "And if anyone bothers you again, you come get me. Or Ron. Or any of us. You're not alone, Harry." "Okay." Bill ruffles Harry's hair. "Come on, let's get ice cream. I think we all need ice cream after that." That night, back at the Burrow, Bill sits with Harry and Ron in their shared bedroom. "Can I tell you something about your scar?" Bill asks Harry. Harry touches it self-consciously. "Okay, your mom died to save you. That scar is a reminder that you were loved. Loved so much that she gave her life to protect you. It's not a toy or a curiosity. It's a mark of love." "I don't remember her," Harry says quietly. "I know, but our mom, Molly, she tells you about Lily, right?" "Yeah, she says Lily was brilliant and kind and fierce. She was all those things and she loved you more than anything. That scar proves it." Harry thinks about this. "So it's like a hug that she left for me?" Bill smiles. "Yeah, like a hug." Ron, sitting beside Harry, says, "And you're our brother, so you get Weasley hugs too." He throws his arms around Harry. Harry hugs back, grinning. Bill joins the hug, squashing both of them. "All right," Bill says. "Bedtime. You two have broom practice with Charlie tomorrow, and he'll make you run laps if you're tired." As Bill leaves, he hears Harry whisper to Ron, "I'm glad I'm a Weasley." Ron whispers back, "Me too." Bill smiles and closes the door. Percy Weasley is 13 and stressed. He's studying for his OWLs even though they're still 2 years away. He's reading advanced transfiguration texts, making notes in the margins, muttering about proper wand movements and theoretical applications. Harry finds him in the library, a generous term for the small room with bookshelves that Arthur carved out of a spare closet. "What? Can you help me with something?" Percy sighs. "Harry, I'm busy. Ask Mum." "I was reading ahead and I don't understand the theory behind..." Percy's expression changes. "You're reading transfiguration theory at age 8? The book says you have to visualize the end result. But how do you visualize something you've never seen?" Percy sets down his own book. "That's actually a very good question. Most people don't think about that until 3rd year. So can you explain it?" Harry sits. Percy launches into an explanation that's probably too advanced, but also genuinely enthusiastic. He uses diagrams, examples, and demonstrates with small objects on the desk. An hour later, Harry understands the basic concept. Percy is glowing with pride. "You're quite bright, Harry. Most students wouldn't grasp this until they're at Hogwarts." "You're a good teacher," Harry says honestly. Percy blinks. "Really?" "Yeah, you make it make sense. Not like the books, which just tell you rules. You explain why the rules work." Percy looks like he's been given the greatest compliment of his life. "Well," he says, trying to sound casual, "if you have more questions, you can ask me, I suppose, if I'm not too busy." After Harry leaves, Percy sits alone in the library, smiling to himself. He needed to feel useful. Harry gave him that. From that day on, whenever Harry has a question about magical theory, he asks Percy first. And Percy always makes time to answer. Fred and George Weasley, age 8, are already legendary troublemakers. They've decided Harry needs to be initiated into the prankster lifestyle. Listen carefully, Fred whispers to Harry in the garden. Your scar is special. It's from when Voldemort... When you know who is near, Fred says solemnly. It's a warning system. That's how you survived when you were a baby. Your scar warned you. Want us to test it? How? Fred pulls out a tiny enchanted light, barely bigger than a newt, and slips it under Harry's hair, pressed against the scar. There. Now if it glows, you'll know danger is near. For the next 3 days, the light flickers randomly. Fred and George control it with a small charm. Every time it glows, Harry panics. Ron, my scar is glowing. Should we tell Mum? I don't know. Fred and George said it means danger. Finally, Molly notices Harry constantly checking his scar and asking if anyone senses dark magic nearby. Harry, sweetheart, what's wrong? My scar glows when Voldemort is near. Molly's face goes pale. What? Fred and George said. Molly's expression shifts from fear to fury. Fred, George, down here. Now. Maybe, Fred admits. Molly's voice is deadly quiet. Did you put a light under his hair to make him think you know who was nearby? Yes, George confesses. You are grounded. 1 week. No Quidditch. No dessert. No pranks of any kind. You terrified your brother for a joke. But Mum, 1 week. The twins slink away, properly chastised. Harry is relieved, so my scar doesn't glow. No, sweetheart, it doesn't. I'm sorry you were scared. Later that day, after Molly has left, Harry finds Fred and George in their room. I'm sorry you got in trouble, Harry says. Fred looks up. We're sorry we scared you. It was kind of funny, though, Harry admits. After I stopped being terrified, George grins. So you're not mad? No, but don't do it again. Deal. From that day on, Fred and George include Harry in their pranks instead of making him the target. He becomes an honorary marauder in training. Harry is 9 years old when he finally asks the question directly. He's sitting with Molly in the kitchen, helping her peel potatoes for dinner. The house is unusually quiet. Ron is playing outside with Ginny. The older boys are at Quidditch practice. The twins are, hopefully, not causing chaos somewhere. Mum, Harry says quietly. Yes, dear? Can you tell me about my mum? My birth mum. Lily. Of course. What would you like to know? Everything, anything. I know she died to save me. But who was she? What was she like? Molly pulls out a chair and sits beside him. Lily Evans was one of the most brilliant witches I ever met. She was Muggle-born. Her parents weren't magical, but she had more natural power than most purebloods. She was top of her class in charms, brave, fierce, kind. Did you know her well? Not as well as I wish I had. We were in the Order together. The Order of the Phoenix, a group fighting Voldemort. She was younger than me, but I respected her enormously. She loved your father, James, with her whole heart. And when you were born, Harry, she loved you even more. What did she look like? She had red hair, like me, though a different shade. Auburn, with a bit of gold. And green eyes. You have her eyes, Harry. Exactly her eyes. Harry touches his face. I do. Yes. Every time I look at you, I see Lily looking back. Do you think she'd be proud of me? Molly's eyes fill with tears. Oh, sweetheart, she would be so proud of you. You're kind. You're brave. You love your family. You work hard. You're everything she would have wanted you to be. I mean, you're my mum now, right? I'm your mum now, Molly confirms gently. Lily will always be your mum first. The mum who gave you life, who protected you, who loved you so much she died for you. But I'm your mum too. The mum who raised you, who bandages your scrapes, who makes you eat your vegetables. Can I have 2 mums? You can have as much love as the world gives you, Harry. You're allowed both. Harry thinks about this. Then, I'm really lucky, aren't I? Most people only get 1 mum. I get 2. Molly pulls him into a hug. We're the lucky ones, Harry. You made our family complete. They sit like that for a long moment. Then the door crashes open. Ron runs in, covered in mud. Harry, come quick. Ginny found a gnome that does backflips. Harry grins at Molly. Can I go? Go, but wash up before dinner. Harry runs off, shouting at Ron about gnome training techniques. Molly watches him go, wiping her eyes. I hope I'm doing right by you, Lily, she whispers to the empty kitchen. I hope you'd approve. The wind through the open window sounds almost like a whisper back. Thank you. It's the summer before Hogwarts, and the Weasley family has a project. We're building a proper Quidditch pitch, Arthur announces at breakfast. The entire family stares at him. A what? Molly asks. A Quidditch pitch, in the field behind the orchard. Charlie suggested it, and I think it's brilliant. The children need practice space, and it'll be fun. A family project. Arthur, we can barely afford school supplies, and you want to build a... We'll do it with magic, no cost, just time and effort. What do you say? The children erupt in cheers. Over the next week, the Weasley family transforms the field. Bill handles the structural charms, creating goal hoops that float at regulation height. Charlie maps out the pitch dimensions. Percy researches official Quidditch rules to make sure everything is correct. Fred and George add creative touches, hidden charm triggers that make the hoops move slightly. Molly makes them remove those. Ron and Harry help clear the field of rocks and debris. Even Ginny, at age 9, helps by painting boundary lines, with magic-assisted precision. Arthur builds a small grandstand for spectators. Molly, despite her initial skepticism, ends up refereeing the first match. Teams: Harry, Ron, and Ginny versus Fred, George, and Charlie. Bill provides commentary, and Harry's got the quaffle, nice pass to Ron. Ron shoots, ouch! Charlie blocks it. Charlie's throwing to George. George is going for goal. It's absolutely joyful. Harry, playing Seeker, is searching for the snitch, a small enchanted ball Charlie borrowed from Hogwarts. Ron is keeper, defending their goals with surprising competence. Ginny is fierce and fast. Fred and George are relentless. Charlie is showing off. The match lasts 2 hours. Harry finally catches the snitch, ending the game. Score 2-1-0, 1-8-0. Harry's team wins. Everyone collapses on the grass, laughing and exhausted. This, Arthur says, looking around at his family sprawled across the field, is what it's all about. Being together, having fun. I admit it, this was a good idea. That night, the family sits around the kitchen table, eating a late dinner, talking over each other about the best plays, the funniest moments, the close calls. Harry looks around at all of them, his brothers, his sister, his parents, and feels overwhelmingly grateful. What are you thinking? Ron asks, nudging him. Just, I'm glad I'm here, with all of you. Ron grins. Where else would you be? The owl arrives on a quiet morning. 2 letters delivered simultaneously. Addressed to Mr. H. Potter, the Burrow. Molly cries when she reads them. Happy tears, but tears nonetheless. My babies are going to Hogwarts, she sobs into Arthur's shoulder. Arthur pats her back. They'll be fine, Molly. They have each other. Harry and Ron read their letters together, sitting on the floor of their shared room. We're really going, Ron says, awed. Together, Harry adds. Think we'll be in Gryffindor? Probably. Everyone in your family has been. Our family, Ron corrects. You're a Weasley too, even if your last name is Potter. Harry smiles. Our family, they pack their trunks together. Molly buys their school supplies in Diagon Alley, second-hand robes for both, but new wands, she insists on that. The night before they leave, the whole family gathers for dinner. Bill gives a speech. Hogwarts is the best years of your life. Work hard, make friends, and remember, you're Weasleys. Make us proud. Charlie adds, try out for Quidditch, both of you. Percy, follow the rules, mostly. Fred and George cause chaos. We'll send you prank supplies. Ginny, tearful at being left behind, write to me every week. Molly, be safe. Be smart, be kind. Arthur, be yourselves. That night, Harry writes his first letter home to Molly, even though he hasn't left yet. Dear Mum, I'm home again. Love, Harry. He doesn't send it, just keeps it in his trunk. A reminder, the Burrow is home, always will be. Tomorrow, Hogwarts, but tonight, family. Arthur Weasley stands in a Muggle dental office in London, looking thoroughly confused and delighted in equal measure. He's investigating a bewitched dental chair that allegedly tried to eat a patient. The investigation turned out to be a false alarm. The chair was simply old and malfunctioning. No magic involved. But the visit has led to something far more interesting. Dr. David Granger, the dentist who called in the complaint, is asking Arthur questions about how magic interacts with mechanical devices. Fascinating, Dr. Granger says, adjusting his glasses. So you're saying that magical objects interfere with electricity? Generally, yes, Arthur says enthusiastically. The magical field disrupts the electrical current. It's one of the great mysteries of wizard-muggle interaction. Tell me, How exactly does a root canal work? They've been talking for 20 minutes. Arthur has completely forgotten he's supposed to be investigating something. Dr. Granger's wife, Dr. Helen Granger, appears in the doorway. David, your next appointment is... Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize you still had a visitor. This is Mr. Weasley, Dr. Granger says. He's from the... What did you say? Regulatory agency? The ministry, Arthur says vaguely. We handle unusual occurrences involving Muggle equipment. Mr. Weasley has been explaining how his world interacts with ours. It's absolutely fascinating. His world? Arthur realizes he's said too much. He's supposed to be discreet about magic around Muggles, but there's something about the Grangers, an openness, an intelligence, that makes him want to trust them. I should go, Arthur says, standing. Thank you for reporting the chair malfunction. Wait, Dr. Granger says, before you leave, can I ask you something? Of course. Our daughter, Hermione, she's 5 years old, and sometimes things happen around her, strange things. Objects move when she's upset, books rearrange themselves. Last week, her hair grew back overnight after Helen tried to trim it. How often does this happen? Once or twice a month. We thought we were imagining it, but it keeps happening. Arthur looks at Helen Granger. She's watching him carefully, protectively. A mother sensing something about her child. Your daughter is magical, Arthur says quietly. What you're describing is accidental magic. It happens when young witches and wizards don't have control over their abilities yet. Silence. Then Helen says, You're serious. Completely. She'll receive a letter when she turns 11, inviting her to attend Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Until then, the accidental magic will continue. It's perfectly normal for magical children. Dr. Granger sits down heavily. Our daughter is a witch. Yes. Are you certain? Absolutely. I have 7 children, Mr. Granger. 5 of them are magical. I've seen accidental magic more times than I can count. Your daughter is a witch. Helen's voice shakes slightly. Is she in danger? Are we in danger? The ministry monitors magical children, but you won't be contacted until she's closer to school age. The magic itself is harmless at this stage. Is there anything we can do to help her control it? Arthur thinks, this is against protocol. He's supposed to report Muggle-born magical children to the ministry and let them handle the notification. But the Grangers seem like good people, loving parents who want what's best for their daughter. I have children her age, Arthur says slowly. 2 boys, Harry and Ron. They're 5, like Hermione, and they're magical. If you'd like, I could arrange for Hermione to meet them, so she knows she's not alone. So she has friends who understand. You would do that? Dr. Granger asks. My wife Molly would insist on it, honestly. She believes magical children should grow up knowing they're not strange or broken, just different. Helen and David exchange glances. Could we meet your family first? Helen asks. Before we introduce Hermione to anyone? Of course. Let me give you our address. Visit this weekend, if you'd like. Just to talk. No pressure. Arthur writes down the Burrow's location, carefully worded to account for the magical concealment charms, and hands it over. Thank you, Dr. Granger says, for being honest with us, for not treating this like we're crazy. You're not crazy. You're the parents of a very special little girl. Welcome to the magical world. The Grangers arrive at the Burrow precisely at 2 p.m. Hermione is clutching a backpack that's nearly as big as she is, stuffed with books. She's wearing a neat dress, her bushy brown hair pulled back with clips, eyes wide with nervousness. Molly greets them at the door. Baby Ginny on her hip. Doctor and Dr. Granger, welcome. Please, come in. Don't mind the mess. We're a bit chaotic here. Chaotic is an understatement. The Burrow is organized chaos. Toys scattered everywhere. The twins are building a fort out of cushions in the living room. Percy is reading in a corner. Bill and Charlie are arguing about Quidditch in the kitchen. And in the garden, visible through the window, Harry and Ron are covered head to toe in mud, chasing gnomes. Hermione stares at them, fascinated and horrified in equal measure. Those are Harry and Ron, Molly says. They're enthusiastic. Boys, come inside, we have visitors. Harry and Ron run in, tracking mud across the floor. Molly sighs, what did I just say about the mud? Then come back and meet our guests. Dr. Granger looks around the Burrow, taking in the magical touches, the self-washing dishes, the clock that shows family members' locations instead of time, the broom that's sweeping the floor by itself. This is incredible, he breathes. "It's home," Molly says warmly. "Please sit, I'll make tea." By the time Harry and Ron return, clean and fresh clothes, hair still damp, the adults are deep in conversation about the magical world. Hermione is sitting on the couch, still clutching her backpack, watching everything with enormous eyes. "Boys," Molly says, "this is Hermione. She's going to be a witch, just like you're going to be wizards. I thought you might like to be friends." Harry and Ron look at Hermione. Hermione looks back. "Do you play Quidditch?" Ron asks. Hermione blinks. "What's Quidditch?" "You don't know what Quidditch is?" Harry asks. "No." "Should I?" "What do you read?" Harry asks. Hermione brightens. "Everything. Right now I'm reading about plants." "Did you know there are magical plants?" "I found a book about them in the library, the Muggle library, but it was in the fiction section. Except now I know it's not fiction, it's real. We have magical plants in the garden," Harry says. "Want to see?" "Really?" Ron follows, already explaining the difference between fluxweed and flitterbloom. Molly and the Grangers watch them go. "Well," Helen says, "that went better than expected." "Children adapt quickly," Molly says, "especially when they find others who understand them." Harry, Ron, and Hermione are in the orchard. Hermione has stopped being nervous and started being curious. She's asked approximately 1,000 questions. How does magic work? Why can some people do it and others can't? What's the difference between a charm and a transfiguration? Can you really fly on brooms? Is there a school for this? Harry and Ron answer as best they can, though many of their answers are, "I don't know," or "Mum says we'll learn at Hogwarts." "Hogwarts is the school," Ron explains. "We go when we're 11. It's a castle in Scotland with ghosts and moving staircases and everything." "That sounds amazing," Hermione breathes. "It is," Harry agrees. "Charlie and Bill tell us stories about it all the time." "Do you think I'll get to go?" "Definitely," Ron says confidently. "You're magical. That's what the school is for." Hermione pulls a notebook from her backpack and starts writing everything down. Ron stares. "Why are you writing it down?" "So I don't forget. I want to know everything before I get there." "But we're 6 years away from going to Hogwarts." "Exactly. I have 6 years to prepare." Harry grins. "I like you. You're different." "Is that good or bad?" "Good. Ron and I are the same. We need someone different." Hermione smiles, genuine, bright, relieved. "Can I really be your friend, even though I'm Muggle-born and don't know anything about magic yet?" "You know tons," Ron says. "You know about plants and books, and you're not afraid to ask questions. That makes you brilliant." "Plus," Harry adds, "you didn't laugh at Ron falling in the mud earlier. Why would I laugh? Falling hurts." From the house, Molly calls, "Children, time for the Grangers to leave." They trudge back inside, Hermione still firing off questions. As the Grangers prepare to leave, Helen pulls Molly aside. "Thank you for this. Hermione has been so isolated. Other children don't understand her. But Harry and Ron, they didn't judge her. That's what children do when you teach them kindness," Molly says. "Would you like to bring Hermione back? Perhaps once a week. Let them spend time together." "We don't want to impose. It's not an imposition. Harry and Ron need friends too. And Hermione is delightful." Over the next 6 years, Hermione becomes part of the extended Weasley Potter world. She visits the Burrow every Saturday during summers. During the school year, she exchanges letters with Harry and Ron weekly. Hermione's letters are detailed, informative, full of magical theories she's researched in Muggle libraries, and careful notes about everything she's learned. "Dear Harry and Ron, I've been reading about transfiguration theory. Did you know that the molecular structure of an object determines how difficult it is to transform? Organic materials are harder than inorganic because they have more complex structures. I wonder if we'll learn about this at Hogwarts. Also, I found a book about famous witches and wizards. There's one named McGonagall who's a transfiguration expert. Do you think she still teaches at Hogwarts? Love, Hermione." Harry and Ron's letters are less academic, but no less enthusiastic. "Dear Hermione, Ron fell off his broom again. Charlie says he's getting better, but I think Charlie is lying to be nice. We found a garden gnome that does backflips. Fred and George want to train it for gnome circus. Mum said no. Percy says McGonagall definitely still teaches. He's scared of her but also thinks she's brilliant. Bill says she turned into a cat once in class, and everyone screamed, 'Can you turn into a cat?' That would be amazing." Love, Harry, the Grangers, and Weasleys become family friends. Joint summer barbecues where Arthur explains rubber ducks to Dr. Granger and Helen helps Molly organize the chaos. Hermione teaches Harry and Ron basic Muggle mathematics and reading comprehension. Harry and Ron teach Hermione about magical culture, Quidditch rules, and how to denome a garden. By 1991, the three are inseparable. Hermione is 8 when she spends an entire week at the Burrow. The Grangers are on a dental conference, and Molly offered to watch Hermione. Helen was hesitant, worried about imposing, but Hermione begged to go. Day 1, Hermione is horrified by the mess. "How do you find anything?" she asks, staring at the living room where toys, books, and random magical objects are scattered everywhere. "We don't," Ron says cheerfully. "We just get new stuff when we lose things. That's terribly inefficient." It's fun, though. Hermione spends 2 hours organizing the bookshelves by topic and alphabetically by author. Molly finds her and nearly cries with gratitude. "Hermione, dear, you didn't have to do that. It was making me anxious. I feel better now." Day 3, Hermione tries to establish a schedule for daily activities. She presents it at breakfast, a handwritten chart with time slots for meals, play, reading, chores, and educational enrichment. Fred and George stare at it in horror. "This is a nightmare," Fred says. "We're children, not robots," George adds. "Structure is good for you," Hermione insists. The schedule lasts approximately 4 hours before the twins sabotage it by hiding all the clocks. Day 5, Hermione teaches Harry and Ron basic Muggle mathematics. They're sitting in the orchard with worksheets Hermione prepared. "Why do we need to learn this?" Ron complains. "We have magic. What if you need to calculate change in a Muggle shop?" "Ron, just do the problems." Harry is actually enjoying it. This is like puzzle solving. "I like puzzles." Hermione beams. "See? Learning is fun." Day 7, the trio discovers the twins' secret prank testing laboratory. It's hidden in a shed behind the orchard. Walls covered in blueprints for joke items. Half-finished inventions scattered everywhere. "This is brilliant," Harry says, examining a prototype for a self-inking quill. "This is dangerous," Hermione says, eyeing a jar labeled "Do Not Open, Serious Explosions." Ron picks up the jar. "Wonder what happens if—" Hermione snatches it away. "Don't you dare." They spend the afternoon going through the twins' inventions. Hermione takes notes. Harry sketches improvements. Ron tests the safe ones. "We should have our own headquarters," Ron says suddenly. "What?" Harry asks. "Like this, but ours. The three of us. A place that's just for us." "I like that idea," Hermione says. They claim the shed that day. Clean it out, organize it, Hermione's influence, decorate it with Quidditch posters, Ron's influence, and fill it with books about magic. Harry's compromise between both. "The headquarters of the trio," Ron announces. "That's a terrible name," Hermione says. "You come up with better then." "How about the research and recreation room?" "That's worse." "The hideout," Harry suggests. "Simple." "I like it," Ron says. Hermione nods. "The hideout it is." They shake hands solemnly, making it official. From that day on, whenever Hermione visits, they spend hours in the hideout reading, planning, dreaming about Hogwarts. Summer 1990. 1 year before Hogwarts, Hermione arrives at the Burrow with a stack of handmade textbooks. "What are those?" Ron asks suspiciously. "Preparatory homework," Hermione says proudly. "I've created a curriculum to prepare us for first year at Hogwarts. If we study now, we'll be ahead when we start." She's made us homework. For a school we don't even attend yet. Harry picks up one of the books. It's neatly written, with diagrams and charts and practice problems. "Hermione, this is amazing," he says. "Really?" "Yeah. You made this all yourself?" Hermione flushes with pride. "I used the library and some books my parents bought. I wanted us to be prepared." Ron groans. "I don't want to do homework in summer." "I'll do it with Hermione. You're actually going to study in summer, voluntarily?" "Why not? Hermione worked hard on this, and she's right. We'll be better prepared if we start now." Ron looks between them. "Fine. I'll do it too, but only because I don't want to be left behind." Hermione's face lights up. "Really? You'll both do the homework?" "Study for an hour, then Quidditch practice. Deal?" "Deal." Harry asks questions that make Hermione think deeper. Ron complains but secretly enjoys learning when it's with his best friends. By the end of summer, all three know basic magical theory, the history of Hogwarts, and preliminary information about each subject they'll study. "We're going to be the best prepared first years in history," Hermione says confidently. "Or the biggest know-it-alls," Ron counters. "Same thing," Harry says, grinning. Platform 9 3/4 is crowded with families saying goodbye. Molly is crying. clutching Harry and Ron in turns. "My babies are going to Hogwarts." "Mum, you're embarrassing us," Ron mutters, though he hugs her back. "You'll write every week? And you'll eat properly?" "Yes, Mum." "And you'll look after each other?" "Always," Harry promises. Molly hugs him again. "Be safe, be smart, be kind." Arthur pulls them both aside. "You're going to have a wonderful time. But remember, you're brothers. Whatever happens, you have each other." "We know, Dad," Ron says. The whistle blows. "Go on," Molly says, wiping her eyes, "before I change my mind and keep you home." Harry and Ron grab their trunks and head for the train. They find Hermione already on board, having said goodbye to her parents earlier. She saved them a compartment. "Ready?" she asks as they settle in. "Ready," they say together. The train starts moving. The Burrow, the family, the childhood they've shared, all of it fades into the distance as the Hogwarts Express carries them toward their future. But they're together, the trio, the friends who've known each other for 6 years, and that makes everything else manageable. The Great Hall is more magnificent than any of them imagined, candles floating in midair, the ceiling enchanted to look like the night sky. 4 long tables beneath house banners, Gryffindor's red and gold, Ravenclaw's blue and bronze, Hufflepuff's yellow and black, Slytherin's green and silver. The first years cluster together, nervous and excited. Harry is wearing the hand-knitted sweater Molly made him, red with a golden H on the chest. Ron is wearing a matching one with an R. Hermione thinks they look ridiculous but endearing. They're holding hands, Harry and Ron, fingers linked like they've done since they were toddlers. Professor McGonagall stands at the front, holding a scroll. The Sorting Hat sits on a stool beside her. "When I call your name," McGonagall says crisply, "you will sit on the stool, and I will place the hat on your head. The hat will determine your house." Abbott, Hannah, Hufflepuff, Boot, Terry, Ravenclaw. Names are called. Students are sorted. The houses cheer, with each new member. Then, Granger, Hermione. Hermione walks to the stool, back straight, trying not to look nervous. She sits. McGonagall places the hat on her head. It's far too large. It slips down over her eyes. Inside her mind, a voice speaks. "Ah, Miss Granger. Brilliant mind. Thirst for knowledge. You would do well in Ravenclaw. My friends are going to Gryffindor," Hermione thinks back. Friendship over ambition, loyalty over learning. Learning is important, but so is loyalty. I want to be with Harry and Ron. Brave and loyal. Very well, Gryffindor. The Gryffindor table explodes with applause. Hermione walks over, grinning, and sits near the end where she can see the stool. More names, more sortings. Longbottom Neville. It takes nearly a minute, but eventually, Gryffindor, Malfoy, Draco. The hat barely touches his head. Slytherin. Then finally, Potter, Harry. The Great Hall goes completely silent. Whispers erupt immediately. "Potter? Harry Potter? Is that really him? Did she say Potter?" Harry walks to the stool. Every eye in the hall is on him. He sits. McGonagall places the hat on his head. The voice speaks. "Harry Potter, the boy who lived. But you're not what I expected." What did you expect, Harry thinks. Someone alone, frightened, burdened by destiny. Instead, I find confidence, family, love. You were raised by the Weasleys? Yes. Interesting. You have courage. That's clear. Bravery born not from desperation, but from security. You would do well in Gryffindor. But there's cunning here, too. Ambition. You could thrive in Slytherin. I want to be with Ron and Hermione. Family and friends over personal glory? Always. The hat chuckles. Then it's obvious. Gryffindor table erupts. Not just applause. Cheering, shouting, celebration. Harry grins and walks to the table. Hermione makes room for him on the bench. "We're in the same house," she says excitedly. "Of course we are," Harry says. Weasley Ronald. He's not worried about living up to his brothers or being separated from Harry. The hat touches his head. "Another Weasley, but different from your brothers. You have their courage, their loyalty, but you also have something unique. Absolute certainty in your friendships. You never doubt those you love. Gryffindor." Ron joins Harry and Hermione at the table, dropping onto the bench with a relieved sigh. "Told you," he says. Down the table, Percy is beaming with pride. Fred and George have started a slow clap that builds into thunderous applause. The rest of Gryffindor is cheering. The Weasley contingent is going wild. McGonagall has to call for silence twice before continuing. But the damage is done. Everyone in the hall knows Harry Potter is at Hogwarts, and he's wearing a Weasley sweater, sitting with Ron Weasley and a Muggle-born girl, looking completely comfortable. Not the isolated boy who lived, a Weasley brother who happens to be famous. The Gryffindor first years settle into their dormitories. Harry and Ron are in a room with Dean Thomas, Seamus Finnegan, and Neville Longbottom. Harry is unpacking his trunk when Dean says, "So, you're really Harry Potter? The Harry Potter?" "Yeah," Harry says simply. "Blimey, what's it like being famous?" Harry shrugs. "I don't really think about it. I've just been me." "Growing up with the Weasleys." "You were raised by the Weasleys?" Seamus asks. "I thought you lived with your aunt and uncle." "Molly and Arthur took me in after my parents died." "So Ron is like your brother?" Harry and Ron exchange glances. "He is my brother," Harry says. "Not by blood, but in every way that matters. Twins, basically. We've shared a room our entire lives." "That's brilliant," Dean says. "My brothers never let me share their room." Neville, quiet until now, speaks up. "I think it's nice, having someone you know so well." "I don't have siblings. You have us now," Harry says. "We're all Gryffindors. That makes us family." It's a simple statement, but it sets the tone for their entire year. Later, as they're falling asleep, Ron whispers across the gap between their beds, "Strange, isn't it? Being here instead of the Burrow." "Yeah," Harry whispers back, "but at least we're together." They fall asleep to the sound of the castle settling around them, the wind against the windows, the distant hooting of owls. Together, like always. Harry wakes to find an owl on his windowsill. It's carrying a letter. He opens it. "Dear Harry, I'm home again. Love, Mum." Harry smiles. It's his own words from the letter he wrote before leaving, sent back to him by Molly. He folds it carefully and tucks it into his trunk. Ron leans over. "Letter from Mum?" "Yeah. She's reminding me the Burrow is home. Course it is. Where else would home be?" Harry thinks about this. Nowhere. Nowhere else. They head down to breakfast together. Hermione is already at the Gryffindor table reading Hogwarts a history. "Did you sleep well?" she asks. "Great," Ron says. Except Seamus snores. "I do not," Seamus protests, sitting down beside them. The four of them, Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Neville, who shyly joined them, eat breakfast together, planning their first day of classes. At the staff table, Severus Snape is watching Harry Potter. He expected Lily's eyes in James's face, expected resentment, arrogance, the same entitled swagger James had. Instead, he sees a boy in a hand-knitted sweater, laughing with friends, completely unaware of his fame. It's worse somehow, because Harry is happy, well-adjusted, loved. Everything Severus wasn't at that age. He looks away, jaw tight, and returns to his breakfast. Halloween night, the feast is interrupted by Professor Quirrell bursting into the Great Hall, screaming about a troll in the dungeons. Panic erupts. Dumbledore orders the prefects to lead students back to dormitories. But Hermione isn't at the feast. "Where is she?" Ron asks Harry urgently as they're herded toward Gryffindor Tower. "I don't know. She wasn't at dinner. We need to find her." They slip away from the group, easy to do in the chaos, and run toward the library where Hermione often studies. They find her in the girls' bathroom on the second floor, crying. "Hermione!" Harry shouts. "What are you doing here?" I overheard some girls. They said I was bossy and annoying. I just wanted to be alone." A roar interrupts her. The troll enters the bathroom, 12 feet tall, gray, carrying a massive club. Hermione screams. Ron grabs Harry's arm. "We fight it together, just like we practiced with Charlie." They've never faced a troll before, but they've trained with Charlie's combat exercises for years, targeting weak points, working as a team, staying mobile. "Hermione!" Harry shouts. "Get behind us." She scrambles to the far side of the bathroom. The troll swings its club. Harry and Ron dive in opposite directions. The club smashes through a sink, sending porcelain flying. "Eyes," Ron yells, remembering Charlie's lessons about magical creatures. "Aim for the eyes." Harry casts the only offensive spell he knows, Lumos Maxima. It bellows and stumbles backward, temporarily blinded. Ron levitates debris from the broken sink. Wingardium Leviosa. He slams the porcelain into the troll's knees. It staggers. Hermione, thinking fast, casts Incendio. The troll drops the burning club, roaring in pain and confusion. Harry sees the opening. Ron, on 3. They've done this 100 times in Quidditch, synchronizing movements, acting as one unit. 1. Ron runs right. 2. The troll turns toward Harry, confused. 3. Ron levitates a massive chunk of debris. Harry casts Lumos again, blinding the troll. The debris slams into the troll's head. It collapses, unconscious. Silence. Then McGonagall bursts in, along with Snape and Quirrell. What on earth? McGonagall stops, staring at the unconscious troll, the 3 first years in the destroyed bathroom. We fought it, Harry says breathlessly. You fought a mountain troll? First years aren't supposed to. You could have been killed. Hermione was in here, Ron says. We couldn't leave her. Hermione nods, tears still streaming down her face. They saved me, the troll was going to. They saved me, 10 points from Gryffindor for endangering yourselves, but 20 points each for extraordinary bravery in the face of mortal danger, and another 10 for exceptional teamwork. We're not in trouble? Ron asks, surprised. You're reckless and foolish, but you're also heroic. Now go back to your dormitory. All 3 of you will handle the troll. Thank you, she whispers. I know we were already friends, but now we're more than that. We're family. Always were, Ron says. Always will be, Harry adds. They walk back to Gryffindor Tower together, hands linked, a unit. Harry, Ron, and Hermione investigate the 3rd-floor corridor together from the start. No need to build trust. They've been a team for 6 years. They discover Fluffy the 3-headed dog, the trapdoor, the protections guarding something important. Someone's trying to steal whatever's down there, Hermione says. Then we stop them, Ron says simply. They go through the trapdoor together, face the obstacles as a unit. Devil's Snare. Hermione remembers the counter, light and heat. Ron provides the fire. Harry pulls them both free. The flying keys. Harry catches the right key, natural seeker skills. Ron and Hermione distract the others. The chess game, Ron sacrifices himself, but it's more painful because he's Harry's twin. Harry screams when Ron goes down. Hermione has to drag Harry forward. Harry faces Quirrell alone. Hermione and Ron are unconscious from the chess sacrifice and Devil's Snare injuries. The confrontation plays out as in canon. Quirrell reveals Voldemort on the back of his head, tries to kill Harry but can't touch him because of Lily's protection. Harry wakes in the hospital wing. His first word, Ron. I'm here, Ron says from the next bed. He's bandaged, bruised, but conscious. So's Hermione. Molly and Arthur are there. Molly is clutching Harry's hand, crying with relief. My boys, she sobs. My brave, stupid, wonderful boys. We stopped him, Harry says. We stopped Voldemort. You nearly died, Molly says. But we didn't. Because we were together. Arthur puts a hand on Harry's shoulder. Together or not at all. Right? After Harry and Ron recover, Molly storms into Dumbledore's office. She doesn't knock, just barges in, Arthur following behind. Molly? Dumbledore starts. You promised me, Molly interrupts, voice shaking with fury. When I took Harry in, when I swore to protect him, you promised me you'd keep him safe at Hogwarts. And in his first year, he nearly died. You underestimated nothing. You allowed this, you knew someone was after the stone. You left it at Hogwarts as bait, and you let first years stumble into mortal danger. Dumbledore's expression is grave. Voldemort is not truly gone, Molly. He will return. Harry is 11 years old. He's a child, my child. He is also the boy who lived, the one marked by prophecies. Molly slams her hand on the desk. I care about my son, and if you ever use him as bait again, I will pull him from the school and teach him at home myself. Do you understand me? Silence. Then Dumbledore says quietly, I understand. And you're right. I should have protected them better. It won't happen again. It better not, Molly says. He's my son. I will move heaven and earth to keep him safe. She turns and sweeps out of the office, Arthur following. Dumbledore sits alone, looking suddenly very old and very tired. Second year begins with warning signs. Ginny Weasley is acting strange, distracted, exhausted. Ink stains on her hands, but no visible source. Harry notices immediately because Ginny is his sister. The sibling bond makes him protective. Something's wrong with Ginny, he tells Ron and Hermione at breakfast one morning in October. What do you mean? Hermione asks. She's jumpy, tired. She won't look me in the eye. Should we tell Mum? Not yet. Let's figure out what's happening first. They watch Ginny carefully. Within a week, Harry spots her writing in a small black diary during library study sessions. She's writing something, Harry reports, but she hides it whenever anyone gets close. Hermione's eyes narrow. A diary that she's protective of. That's not unusual for an 11-year-old girl. But what if it's more than that, Harry says. What if something's wrong with the diary itself? They investigate, follow Ginny, eventually see her writing in the diary, and watch the diary write back. That's not normal, Ron breathes. We need to get that diary, Hermione says. They wait until Ginny is at Quidditch practice, then slip into her dormitory. Find the diary in her trunk. Harry opens it. Blank pages. Try writing something, Hermione suggests. Harry pulls out a quill. Hello. The ink vanishes. Then words appear in elegant script. Hello, Harry Potter. My name is Tom Riddle. How did you come by my diary? Harry's blood runs cold. Hermione. Ron. Look at this. They lean over his shoulder. Who are you? Harry writes. A memory. Preserved in this diary? Waiting for someone to confide in. This is dark magic, Hermione whispers. I've read about this. Objects that contain consciousness. They're dangerous. We need to destroy it, Ron says. How? Harry asks. Hermione thinks. Fiend fire would work. Or basilisk venom. Or we take it to Dumbledore. They choose Dumbledore. Show him the diary, explain what they found, demonstrate how it writes back. Dumbledore's face goes pale. This is a Horcrux. A what? Harry asks. An object containing a piece of a soul, one of the darkest forms of magic imaginable. Tom Riddle, he pauses, is Lord Voldemort's real name. This diary contains a fragment of his soul. The three of them stare in horror. How do we destroy it? Hermione asks. Dumbledore pulls the sword of Gryffindor from behind his desk. He's been keeping it close this year, sensing danger. This blade is goblin-forged. It absorbs only that which makes it stronger, including basilisk venom from the Chamber of Secrets centuries ago. He stabs the diary. It screams, a horrible, inhuman sound. Ink pours out like blood. Then the diary shrivels, blackens, and crumbles to ash. Ginny, who had been under the diary's influence, wakes up the next morning feeling clear-headed for the first time in months. Harry explains everything to her gently. She cries, apologizes, feels guilty. It's not your fault, Harry says firmly. You're 11. Someone gave you a cursed object. You couldn't have known. But I could have. Because we caught it in time. Because we're family and we watch out for each other. Ginny hugs him, sobbing into his shoulder. The Chamber of Secrets never opens. Ginny is saved. The Horcrux is destroyed. And the trio learns a valuable lesson. Stick together, trust your instincts, and don't wait for adults to solve problems. The headline screams from the front page of the Daily Prophet. Sirius Black escapes Azkaban. Ministry warns public Arthur Weasley, reads the paper at breakfast, his face growing pale. Molly sees his expression. What is it? Arthur shows her the paper. Molly gasps, clutching Ginny closer. The children need to know, Arthur says quietly. They're too young. Harry is 13. He deserves the truth. And if Black is after him and the ministry thinks he is, Harry needs to be prepared. That evening, Arthur calls a family meeting. Everyone gathers in the living room. Bill and Charlie are home for the summer. Percy is back from Hogwarts. Fred, George, Ron, Harry, Hermione, who's visiting, and Ginny all sit together. There's something you need to know, Arthur begins. Especially you, Harry. A man named Sirius Black has escaped from Azkaban prison. Who's Sirius Black? Harry asks. Arthur takes a breath. He was your father's best friend. They were like brothers at Hogwarts, inseparable. When you were born, your parents made Sirius your godfather. Harry sits up straighter. My godfather? Yes. But after your parents died, the ministry accused Sirius of betraying them to Voldemort. They said he told Voldemort where James and Lily were hiding. Then, when another friend, Peter Pettigrew, confronted him, Sirius allegedly killed Peter and 12 Muggles with a single curse. Allegedly? Hermione picks up on the word choice. Arthur hesitates. I knew Sirius Black, not well, but I knew him through the Order of the Phoenix, and the man I knew loved James Potter more than anything. I can't reconcile that man with someone who would betray his best friend. So you don't think he did it? Harry asks. I think something doesn't add up, but the ministry is convinced. They've issued warnings. They believe Sirius is coming for you, Harry. Why would he come for me? The ministry's theory is that he wants to finish what Voldemort started. Kill the boy who lived. Harry processes this, but you don't believe that. I don't know what to believe, which is why we need to be careful, all of us. Black is dangerous whether he's guilty or innocent. Molly speaks up. Harry, I want you to promise me you won't go looking for answers. If you see Sirius Black, you run. You tell an adult. You don't try to confront him alone. I promise. His father's best friend, his godfather, someone who might know things about his parents that no one else does. He needs to know the truth. The year progresses. Dementors at Hogwarts, Patronus lessons with Lupin, the Marauder's map, the discovery that Sirius is an animagus. Everything builds to the night Ron is dragged into the shrieking shack by a large black dog. Harry and Hermione follow. Find Ron on the floor, the dog transformed into a gaunt, wild-eyed man, Sirius Black. Get away from him, Harry shouts, wand raised. Sirius raises his hands, showing he's unarmed. Harry, please, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to explain. You betrayed my parents. No, Sirius's voice breaks. Never. I would never. James was my brother. I loved him. I loved your mother. I would have died for any of you. Then why does everyone think you did it? I was supposed to keep the secret of where your parents were hiding. But I thought I was too obvious a choice. Voldemort would come for me first. So we chose Peter Pettigrew instead. Quiet, unassuming Peter. No one would suspect him. Peter Pettigrew is dead, Hermione says. You killed him. Killed those Muggles, cut off his own finger, transformed into a rat, and disappeared into the sewers. He's been hiding ever since. That's impossible, Ron says. You're saying Peter's been alive all this time? As a rat? As a rat, specifically, Sirius points at Ron's pocket. As your rat, Scabbers. Ron pulls Scabbers from his pocket. The rat is squirming, trying to escape. This is ridiculous, Ron says. Scabbers is just... Remus Lupin enters through the tunnel, wand drawn. He takes in the scene, sees Sirius, and freezes. Sirius, Lupin says carefully. Is it true? Is Peter alive? Force him to transform. You'll see. Lupin and Sirius point their wands at Scabbers. Reveal yourself. The rat convulses. Transforms. A small, balding man with watery eyes appears where Scabbers was. Peter Pettigrew. Hello, Remus. Sirius, Peter says nervously. Wonderful to see you both. You're alive, Lupin whispers, horrified. You've been alive this whole time. I had to hide. Voldemort's supporters were looking for me. I had no choice. You betrayed James and Lily, Sirius roars. You told Voldemort where they were. He would have killed me. What was I supposed to do? Die, Sirius lunges. Lupin holds him back. Harry is staring at Peter, mind reeling. This man, this pathetic, trembling man, is responsible for his parents' deaths. You killed them? Harry says quietly. Peter turns to him, eyes pleading. Harry, you have to understand. I didn't have a choice. The Dark Lord was so powerful I was so scared. You had a choice. You chose to betray them. Harry raises his wand. For a moment he genuinely considers using an unforgivable curse. Then Ron's hand is on his arm. Harry, don't. He's not worth it. Harry lowers his wand, trembling. We take him to the castle, Hermione says firmly. We let the ministry deal with him. Sirius gets a trial. Peter faces justice. That's how this ends. They bind Peter and drag him back toward Hogwarts, but on the way, Peter transforms again, slips free, and escapes into the darkness. No, Sirius screams. Without Peter's testimony, there's no proof of Sirius's innocence. But Harry believes him. They're standing in the Forbidden Forest, waiting for the ministry to arrive. Sirius looks at Harry with desperate hope. You believe me? That I didn't betray your parents? I believe you. You loved my dad. I can see it. The way you talk about him. Sirius's eyes fill with tears. I should have been the one to raise you. I was your godfather. It should have been me. You couldn't have. But if I'd caught Peter that night, if I'd proven my innocence, I could have taken you. You would have grown up knowing your family, knowing about James and Lily. I did grow up with family, Harry interrupts. The Weasleys, they raised me, loved me, gave me everything I needed. Sirius looks pained. I'm not trying to take you away from them. I want to be part of your life. If you'll let me, Harry thinks about this. He has Molly and Arthur as parents, Ron as a twin, the Weasley siblings. But there's room in his life for more love, more family. You're my godfather, Harry says. That makes you family. You don't replace anyone. But you can be part of this, if you want. I want that more than anything. Then we clear your name. We catch Peter. And you get to be free. They shake hands. An agreement. A promise. Christmas 1993. Sirius arrives at the Burrow on Christmas Eve. Molly answers the door. She's heard about his exoneration, knows Harry has been corresponding with him, but this is the first time they've met face to face. Sirius Black, she says carefully. Mrs. Weasley, Sirius stops, unsure how to proceed. I wanted to thank you for raising Harry, for giving him a home when I couldn't. Molly studies him, sees a man who spent 12 years in hell, who lost everything, who's trying to rebuild. Come in, she says. It's Christmas. Families should be together. The Burrow is warm, chaotic, filled with noise and love. Harry sees him and runs over. Sirius, you're here. He pulls out a leather-bound photo album. Pictures of your parents, of you as a baby. I kept them all these years, thought you might want them. Harry opens the album with shaking hands. Pictures of James and Lily laughing and waving. Baby Harry on a toy broomstick. The Potters at their wedding. Thank you, Harry whispers. This is thank you. Molly appears with a second gift. I made something for you too. It's a scrapbook, filled with photos of Harry at the Burrow from age 15 months to 13 years. Harry learning to walk, Harry and Ron covered in mud, Harry's first day of Hogwarts. Harry looks at both albums, his past and his present, Lily and James, Molly and Arthur. I have two families, he says wonderingly. You have one family, Sirius corrects gently. It's just bigger than most people's. Your parents gave you life. The Weasleys gave you love. I'm the bridge between them, the uncle who tells embarrassing stories about your dad. Molly smiles. You're welcome here, Sirius. Anytime Harry needs all the love he can get. Thank you, Sirius says. His voice breaks slightly. That means more than you know. That Christmas, Sirius stays at the Burrow, tells stories about James and Lily, plays wizard chess with Ron, helps Molly cook badly but he tries, becomes part of the extended family. And when Voldemort returns, Harry won't just have Dumbledore's army. He'll have an actual army of people who love him. The Goblet of Fire spits out 3 names. Victor Crumb for Durmstrang, Fleur Delacour for Beauxbatons, Cedric Diggory for Hogwarts. Everyone cheers. The champions stand together, ready to compete. Then the goblet flares again. A 4th piece of parchment shoots out. Dumbledore catches it, reads it, and his face goes white. Harry Potter, the great hall erupts in chaos. He didn't enter, someone shouts. He's too young. Harry sits frozen at the Gryffindor table. He didn't put his name in. He knows he didn't. Ron is on his feet immediately. He didn't do it. Hermione grabs Harry's hand. This is wrong. Someone else entered his name. The Gryffindor table rallies around Harry. This isn't glory-seeking. This is an attack on their friend. Fred and George start shouting. Investigate the goblet. Someone tampered with it. McGonagall calls for order. Harry walks to the front on shaky legs. Ron and Hermione follow, refusing to leave his side. Did you put your name in the goblet? Dumbledore asks. No, sir. I swear I didn't. Did you ask an older student to do it for you? No. But Barty Crouch Sr. is already pulling out the rulebook. The goblet constitutes a binding magical contract. If it's selected Mr. Potter, he must compete. He's 14, McGonagall protests. The age restriction was clearly bypassed, but the contract remains binding. Dumbledore's expression is grave. Then Harry must compete. But we will investigate how his name was entered. Harry returns to the Gryffindor table in shock. This is mental, Ron says. You could die in this tournament. I know. Then we help you win, Hermione says firmly. Research, training, strategy. We do this together. That night, Molly receives an urgent flu call from McGonagall explaining the situation. Within an hour, Molly has flu called Dumbledore directly. Who did this to my son? She demands, her voice cold with fury. We're investigating. You'll find who put Harry's name in that goblet, and you'll make them pay. And in the meantime, you'll help him survive this tournament. Molly, the rules. I don't care about rules. Someone is trying to kill Harry. Again, and you're going to help me protect him. Dumbledore has rarely seen Molly Weasley this angry. It's terrifying. What do you need? He asks. Resources, training, every advantage we can give him. Done. The next weekend, the entire Weasley family convenes at the Burrow. Bill arrives from Egypt with books on curse-breaking and protective charms. Charlie arrives from Romania with first-hand knowledge of dragons. The first task is always dangerous magical creatures. I'd bet my wand it's dragons this year. Percy brings ministry rulebooks looking for loopholes in the tournament regulations. Fred and George bring experimental defensive items from their prank development. Shield hats, decoy detonators, Peruvian instant darkness powder. Take whatever you need. Arthur uses his ministry connections to quietly investigate who might have tampered with the goblet. Molly coordinates everything, turning the Burrow into mission control. We're going to keep you alive, Molly tells Harry fiercely. All of us, together. November, the first task. Harry draws the Hungarian horntail, the most dangerous dragon breed. Charlie briefs him extensively the night before. Horntails are aggressive but predictable. They protect their eggs viciously. Your best bet is speed and misdirection. Don't try to fight it head-on. Use your flying skills. I'm a good flyer, Harry says. You're better than good. You're a natural. Trust your instincts. The next day, Harry faces the horntail. He summons his firebolt broomstick, taught the summoning charm by Hermione in intensive study sessions. Mounts it. Flies. The crowd gasps. Harry is flying like he was born to it, dodging fire, weaving through the horntail's attacks, using speed and agility. Charlie's advice plays in his head. Target the eyes if you can. Blind her temporarily. Harry uses a conjunctivitis curse, hits the dragon's eye. She roars, momentarily disoriented. He dives for the golden egg, grabs it, escapes. Total time, 4 minutes. The crowd erupts in cheers. Molly, watching from the stands, is crying with relief. Arthur has his arm around her. He did it, Molly sobs. He actually did it. February, the second task. Harry has to rescue something precious from the merpeople village at the bottom of the Black Lake. He uses gillyweed, suggested by Neville, who's been studying herbology obsessively. Dives into the lake, finds 4 hostages chained at the bottom. Ron for Harry, Hermione for Victor Crumb, Cho Chang for Cedric Diggory, Gabrielle Delacour for Fleur. Harry sees Ron chained there and his heart stops. His twin, his brother, held underwater as bait, he swims to Ron immediately, starts cutting the chains. But then he sees Gabrielle. Fleur hasn't arrived yet. The little girl is running out of time. Harry hesitates, takes Ron, then goes back for Gabrielle. He surfaces with both of them, dragging them to shore. The judges argue about his score. He exceeded the time limit but saved 2 hostages instead of 1. Final ruling, maximum points for moral fiber and compassion beyond the task requirements. Ron, coughing up lake water, grabs Harry's arm. You came back for me. Always, Harry says. You're my brother. Ron's eyes fill with tears. When I woke up down there and saw you, I knew you'd never leave me, even for a stupid tournament. Molly appears, throwing her arms around both of them. My boys, my brave, ridiculous boys. June, the final task. The hedge maze is vast, filled with magical obstacles. Harry enters alongside Cedric, Victor, and Fleur. He navigates using skills the Weasleys taught him. Charlie's creature knowledge handles a blast-ended Scroot. Bill's curse-breaking disarms a jinxed pathway. Percy's rule memorization answers a Sphinx's riddle correctly. He reaches the center simultaneously with Cedric. The Triwizard Cup gleams on its pedestal. Take it together, Cedric suggests. Tie for Hogwarts, Harry nods. They grab the cup at the same time. The world spins. They're pulled through space. They land in a graveyard, old headstones, a massive yew tree, and in the shadows, Peter Pettigrew carrying a bundle wrapped in cloth. The Dark Lord's plan, Peter wheezes. You've arrived right on schedule. Cedric raises his wand. What is this? A trap, Harry says, his scar exploding with pain. Cedric, run. Avada Kedavra, Peter casts. Green light shoots toward Cedric. Harry shoves him aside. The curse misses by inches. They both scramble behind a gravestone. We need to get back to the cup, Cedric shouts. But Peter is advancing, and behind him, the bundle is moving, unfolding. Lord Voldemort emerges, not fully restored, but conscious, coherent, deadly. Harry Potter, Voldemort hisses. How kind of you to accept my invitation. And you've brought a friend. Perfect. They fight. 2 14-year-olds against a Dark Lord and his servant. It's desperate, chaotic. Harry and Cedric use every spell they know, working as a unit, covering each other. Finally, they see an opening. Both dive for the cup simultaneously. The port key activates. They materialize back at Hogwarts, in the maze entrance, both bleeding and terrified. The crowd starts cheering, then stops when they see the boys' expressions. "He's back," Harry gasps. Voldemort is back. Dumbledore believes Harry immediately. Fudge denies it. But this time, Arthur Weasley doesn't stay silent. He's a ministry employee with 20 years of service. When he stands up at the emergency Wizengamot session and says, "I believe my son. Harry Potter is telling the truth. Voldemort has returned." People listen. Other voices join his. Amelia Bones, Kingsley Shacklebolt, members of the Old Order of the Phoenix. Fudge is outvoted. By the end of summer, the ministry officially acknowledges Voldemort's return, and the Weasley family, plus Harry, Hermione, and Sirius, begin preparing for war. Dolores Umbridge is appointed Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher by the ministry. She's exactly as awful as in canon, refuses to teach practical defense, uses blood quills as punishment, takes over Hogwarts as High Inquisitor, but this time, the Weasley family fights back. Arthur Weasley works at the ministry. He has access to internal memos, policy documents, official records. When he learns about Umbridge's appointment, he starts building a paper trail. Every abuse, documented. Every illegal detention, recorded. Every blood quill incident, photographed via magical evidence collection. He compiles it all in a file marked Educational Decree Violations and waits for the right moment to deploy it. Percy Weasley is ambitious. He wants a successful ministry career. But in December, he sees something that changes everything. He's walking past Umbridge's office and hears screaming. Harry Potter being punished with a blood quill. Percy freezes. Through the door's window, he can see Harry writing lines. "I must not tell lies." The words are carving into his hand, blood dripping onto the parchment. Percy stands there for a full minute, paralyzed. This is what he wanted. Ministry power, advancement. At the cost of watching his brother be tortured, he walks away. Goes directly to Arthur's office. "Dad," Percy says, voice shaking. "We need to stop her." Arthur looks up. "Percy? Umbridge. She's using blood quills on students. I saw Harry. I saw him bleeding, and I did nothing because I was afraid it would hurt my career. But I can't. I can't do this anymore." Arthur stands, pulls Percy into a hug. "Welcome back, son." In this timeline, the DA forms the same way. Harry teaching defensive magic in secret, but it's backed by the Weasley family network. Bill sends curse-breaking techniques via Owl Post. Charlie sends strategies for fighting large opponents. Fred and George supply defensive joke items. Shield hats, instant darkness powder. Arthur and Percy feed intelligence from the ministry about Umbridge's movements. The DA becomes not just a student organization, but a resistance cell with adult support. June. Harry has a vision of Sirius being tortured at the Department of Mysteries. Canon. Harry rushes there with just the DA students. AU. Harry tells Ron and Hermione, who immediately say, "We need to contact the Order." Hermione, "What if it's real? What if Sirius needs help?" Ron, "Then we trust the adults, for once." Harry Floo calls Molly from Umbridge's fireplace. They break in using Fred and George's lock-picking spell. Molly appears in the flames. "Harry, what's wrong?" "I had a vision. Sirius is being tortured. At the Ministry, Department of Mysteries. We're coming." 30 minutes later, the battle at the Department of Mysteries includes the original 6 DA students, Harry, Ron, Hermione, Neville, Ginny, Luna, Order members, Sirius, Remus, Tonks, Moody, Kingsley, the Weasley adults, Molly, Arthur, Bill, Charlie. It's a full-scale battle, Death Eaters versus the combined force of the Order and the Weasley family. The critical moment, Sirius dueling Bellatrix near the Veil. In canon, he falls through laughing. In this AU, Molly Weasley intervenes. Bellatrix casts the curse that sends Sirius toward the Veil. He's stumbling backward, about to fall. She casts a summoning charm so powerful it yanks Sirius away from the Veil and pulls him across the room. He crashes into a desk, bruised but alive. "You are not dying on me," Molly shouts at him. "Harry needs you." Sirius stares at her, stunned. You saved me. Your family." They fight together after that. Molly and Sirius, back to back, holding off 3 Death Eaters until reinforcements arrive. The battle ends. The Death Eaters are captured. Fudge arrives and sees Voldemort with his own eyes. The Ministry can no longer deny the truth. After the battle, everyone is injured, exhausted, traumatized. Molly takes them all back to the Burrow. Harry, Sirius, the DA students, the Order members, her entire family. It's 3 a.m. She makes everyone sit down for soup and bread. Fred, Mum, we nearly died. Can we skip the meal? Molly, you nearly died. Which is exactly why you need soup. Sit, eat. They eat. No one is allowed to talk about the battle until they've finished their food. It's absurd. It's also exactly what they need. Harry sits between Ron and Sirius, eating Molly's soup, surrounded by people who risk their lives to save him. Thank you, he says quietly. Always, Ron says. That's what family does, Sirius adds. Molly, standing at the stove, wipes her eyes and serves another round. Order of the Phoenix meeting at the Burrow. Dumbledore, alive in this timeline because of earlier interventions. Voldemort controls the Ministry. The Burrow is a known location. You need to go into hiding. Protections we've built over 16 years. We stand our ground. Molly, if we run, we scatter. If we stay, we're a fortress. Sirius, you're talking about making yourselves a target. Harry, good. Let them come. We end this. Bill, we can fortify. I'll set up curse-breaking wards. Charlie, I can call in a favor. Bring a dragon to guard the perimeter. Fred and George, we'll rid the property with every defensive prank we've ever invented. Hermione, I can create hidden bunkers using undetectable extension charms. The decision is made. They turn the Burrow into a fortress and wait for Voldemort to attack. Over the next weeks, the Burrow transforms, builds wards, layered protective enchantments that detect dark magic, repel unauthorized apparition, and alert defenders to breaches. Charlie's dragon, a young Welsh green named Ember, trained to recognize friend versus foe, stationed in the orchard. Fred and George's traps, Peruvian instant darkness powder mines, decoy detonators that create chaos, defensive joke items that incapacitate without killing. Fleur's contribution, Beauspot's protective charms that create shimmering barriers. Hermione's bunkers, underground safe rooms with medical supplies, food, water connected by tunnels. Ron and Harry's training. They drill the younger Order members in defensive tactics, how to fight as units, how to cover each other, how to survive. The Burrow becomes a military base disguised as a family home. They come at midnight, 20 Death Eaters, led by Antonin Dolohov, apparat onto the property. They expect a quick strike, an easy victory. They're wrong. Phase 1, the initial defense, Ember the dragon roars and breathes fire. The wards activate, creating visible shields that glow golden in the darkness. Fred and George's darkness powder deploys, blinding half the Death Eaters. Phase 2, the breach. Voldemort himself arrives, furious. He blasts through the outer wards with raw power. Stands in the garden, wand raised. Come out, Harry Potter, or I kill them all. Harry steps outside. Molly screams and tries to pull him back. You want me? Harry shouts at Voldemort. Fine, but you leave them alone. I want you to watch them die first. Phase 3. The family stand. The entire Weasley family steps out to stand beside Harry. Molly and Arthur, wands drawn. Bill and Charlie, flanking Harry. Percy, Fred, and George, in formation. Ron and Ginny, side by side. Hermione clutching her wand. Sirius and Remus behind them. Molly, you want my son, you go through me. Your son, he's not your blood. He's mine in every way that matters. The fight is brutal. Key moments. Molly duels Bellatrix with terrifying fury. Bellatrix taunts her about blood traitors raising the Potter brat. Molly responds, "Not my children," and hits Bellatrix with a curse that sends her flying. The twin magic, Fred and George, fight in perfect synchronization, their spells combining mid-air to create effects neither could achieve alone. Ron's sacrifice, a killing curse, aims for Harry. Ron throws himself in the way. Hermione shields Ron at the last second with a protogo so powerful it shatters the curse. Harry's realization. Harry understands that the power he knows not from the prophecy is this, the combined love and protection of a family willing to die for him. He channels that power into a shield charm so massive it repels Voldemort's next killing curse. The backlash staggers Voldemort. Voldemort, weakened and shocked, realizes he can't win this way. He retreats, screaming, "This isn't over, Potter." Harry, yes it is, because you're alone, and I'm not. The family is bruised, bleeding, exhausted, but alive. The next day, they repair the damage. Harry and Ron use Reparo on the walls. Hermione fixes the broken furniture. Molly bakes a "We Survived" cake with chocolate frosting. Fred and George set off celebratory fireworks. Arthur gives a speech. This family has been through hell, but we're still here, and we always will be. They eat cake together, sitting on the lawn in the sunshine, laughing despite everything, because they won. Not by killing Voldemort, not yet, but by proving he can't break them. Voldemort attacks Hogwarts with his full army. The castle's defenders include students and staff, the Order of the Phoenix, the Weasley family. The family fights as a coordinated force. Bill handles curse breaking on Voldemort's magical barriers. Charlie leads the creature defense, helps secure the Forbidden Forest. Percy coordinates communications between defensive units. Fred and George create chaos in Death Eater ranks with experimental magic. Ron and Ginny fight alongside Harry. The critical moment, an explosion in a corridor where Fred is fighting. In canon, he dies. In this AU, George's twin sense alerts him a split second early. Fred, move. George tackles Fred. They roll away as the wall collapses, both bruised, both alive. You saved me, Fred gasps. Course I did. Can't run the shop without you. Harry learns the truth. He's a Horcrux. He must die for Voldemort to be mortal. He walks into the Forbidden Forest alone, ready to sacrifice himself. The Weasley family doesn't know where he's going. When they realize, it's too late. Voldemort casts the killing curse. Harry falls. Ron collapses when Hagrid carries Harry's body back. Hermione holds him, both sobbing. Molly screams, a sound of pure anguish. Arthur pulls her close, both crying. The Weasley family thinks they've lost him. Harry wakes in limbo, King's Cross Station conversation with Dumbledore. Chooses to return. When Voldemort's forces think they've won, Harry drops from Hagrid's arms, alive. Ron is the first to reach him. They crash into each other, both crying. You're alive, you're alive. I'm alive. Harry versus Voldemort in the Great Hall. Same as canon. Harry explains the Elder Wand's allegiance. Voldemort's curse rebounds. The Dark Lord dies. But the emotional weight is different. The entire Weasley family is there, standing behind Harry, wands raised, ready to fight if needed. When Voldemort falls, Molly pulls Harry into her arms. It's over, she sobs. It's finally over. 19 years later, Platform 9 3/4, September 1st, 2017. Platform 9 3/4 is crowded. Harry and Ginny are sending their children to Hogwarts. James, Albus, Lily, Ron and Hermione are there with Rose and Hugo. But the scene is bigger. Bill and Fleur with Victoire, Dominique, Louis. Charlie unmarried but present. Percy with Molly and Lucy. George with Fred II and Roxanne. The entire extended Weasley family, 30-plus people. Albus pulls Harry aside, nervous. Dad, what if I'm in Slytherin? Then you'll be the best Slytherin there ever was. The house doesn't matter, what matters is who you are. Ron adds, and you're a Weasley. That's all that counts. Hermione, Ron, he's a Potter. Ron grins. Same thing. The entire family gathers for dinner. 30 people around a magically extended table. Molly directing chaos in the kitchen. Arthur tinkering with a Muggle smartphone. Grandchildren playing Quidditch outside. Harry steps outside watching the chaos. Ron joins him. Mental, isn't it? A home. You always had it, mate, from the moment Mum took you in. I know, but sometimes I still can't believe it's real. Believe it. You're stuck with us forever. Once a year, Harry visits Godric's Hollow alone. Stands at James and Lily's grave. Mum, Dad, I wish you could have met them. The Weasleys. Molly became my mum. Arthur became my dad. Ron became my brother. I know you wanted me to have a family. I did. I do. Places flowers. Whispers, thank you for saving me. And thank you for the Weasleys finding me. Harry returns to the Burrow. Molly is waiting on the porch. You went to see them? Lily and James? Yeah. Wanted to tell them about you. About all of this. Molly pulls him into a hug. They know, sweetheart. They know. Do you ever regret it? Taking me in? I brought so much danger. Molly pulls back, looks him in the eye. Harry James Potter Weasley, you listened to me. You were never a burden. You were a gift. You brought chaos, yes. But you also brought joy. You gave Ron a brother. You gave this family purpose. You reminded us what we were fighting for. I would do it all again in a heartbeat. I love you, Mum. I love you too, my boy. Always. The camera pulls back. The burrow glows with warm light. Inside, laughter, arguing, family living. Harry walks back inside. Ron throws an arm around his shoulder. Hermione rolls her eyes fondly. The grandchildren are screaming. Molly scolds Fred too for a prank. Arthur explains rubber ducks to a confused Albus. I spent my first year wondering where I belonged. I spent the next 10 years fighting to protect the place I belonged. And I spent every year after living in the place I belonged. The Burrow was never just a house. It was home. And the Weasleys were never just a family. They were my family, the family that chose me, the family I chose. And I wouldn't change a single thing.